Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Jayden Bryce Show, the show where we talk about the latest, hottest topics in the world of pop culture and sports. I'm your host, Jay, as always, and I am excited for you guys to be with me today. As you see from the title of the podcast, there has been a lot going on regarding these issues with Tom Brady being in the booth on Monday Night Football. That is going to be today's main topic for the show, and we're going to get to that later on. But first, we're going to be talking about the both games from the Monday Night Football window. We had a doubleheader, which is something I think the NFL needs to get rid of in some way, form, or fashion, because there's no reason why an NFL game should be playing at 10 o'clock on the East Coast. It's bad enough they do that with college football when you want to watch teams like USC, UCLA, everybody on the West Coast, and those big games in the Big Ten. But we can't have it in the NFL. I'm on the East Coast. I'm North Carolina. I cannot stay up past midnight watching the game when I got stuff to do and I got to be up the next morning. That's a big issue I have. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Bucs and the Texans, CJ Stroud, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and Geno Smith. And then I'm going to cap things off with my picks of the week. I didn't get to do it last week, obviously, because I was very much busy last week. So that is something that we are going to get to at some point at the end of the show as well. But of course, as I just stated earlier, today's headliner is about Tom Brady and the things going on, because it is a very, very tricky situation. I've learned some new news. I had it pre-written up what I was going to say, and then I've learned something else, and there's something new going on with the situation. So there's a lot going on with it, but we're going to get right into it. But before we get into all that, guys, be sure to like the podcast. Follow me on Instagram and all my socials down below. Check out my other videos as well. And without further ado, subscribe and let's get right to it. So the first game that we are going to talk about is the Buccaneers and the Texans. I didn't get to start watching this game till roughly the second quarter. I was working. But in the conclusion of the game, I have to say, something that I know a lot of people can attest to in regards to Baker Mayfield and as a quarterback, just the comeback story that he has had, because he has completely flipped the script on his career. You're talking about from a guy who was drafted by the Browns. He was the number one overall pick. A lot of people coming out of the draft was comparing him to the next Johnny Manziel. He had the same type of habits as Johnny Manziel in college. This, and that. You know, Colin Cowherd, the whole thing he had with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield goes to the Browns, takes them to the playoffs. You know, they win a playoff game, get bounced out in the next round, and then they weren't able to succeed. He had Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb, pretty considered at the time a very great O-line. The defense was, they were pretty good as well. But Baker Mayfield was just never able to elevate his play to the way he needed to do and the way he needed to play. So then he goes to Carolina, didn't do anything there. And this is in the point of his career where he leaves Carolina and his journey as a starting quarterback was looking to be dim and comes to an end. Then he has that game with the Rams. He goes to the Rams and he leads that game-winning drive, and then it's been all she wrote from there. Baker Mayfield has been absolutely phenomenal since he joined the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't have the stats to back it up, but I was watching it on First Thing First the other day. Baker Mayfield is top 5 in almost every category since he's took over as the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last year on the Buccaneers, he took the Detroit Lions to the ringer. And this year, the Buccaneers, because of Baker Mayfield's play, have the chance. And they pretty much are Super Bowl contenders. And why do I say that? Because of the plays that Baker Mayfield had to make, towards the end of this game. On that 4th and 10, the game is over if you do not pick up the first down. Well, you have the 3 timeouts, but you're going for it on your own side of the field on 4th down. You kick the field goal. Well, if you turn the ball over and the Texans kick the field goal, They're going up 8. So essentially, with no timeouts, if you get a stop, Baker Mayfield would have had to go up and down, all the way up the field, 75-ish yards, no timeouts, roughly a minute and a half left in the game, maybe not even a minute. It did have to get the two-point conversion as well. But what does Baker Mayfield do? 4th and 10. Big play. Looked like he was about to get sacked. He was under duress all night. And what does Baker Mayfield do? Pick up the first down with his legs and continues to lead the Buccaneers down the field. And they get the game-winning touchdown courtesy of Rachaad White running it in. He has the clutch gene. We've seen Baker Mayfield do this back-to-back weeks. Last week against the Falcons, Baker Mayfield had to lead a game-winning drive. Sorry, I didn't have my notes up here stacked up against my computer like I normally do. But this is the Baker Mayfield we were talking about. Baker Mayfield now is the number 1 overall pick that everybody thought he was going to end up being when he was first drafted by the Cleveland Browns. Given the way the Q quarterback, controversy position that the Cleveland Browns are in at the quarterback position, get rid of Baker Mayfield, get Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has not panned out in any sort, way, or fashion that you wanted him to. And now you're stuck with Joe Flacco. He's not playing nowhere near as well as he was 2 years ago. You're hoping Shedeur can maybe be good. Same thing goes for Dylan Gabriel. But if Cleveland knew that Baker Mayfield could have been this good, is it interesting to really say that Cleveland wished they would have kept on to Baker Mayfield? Now, something else I can't say with that as well is I don't think Baker Mayfield would have turned out as good as he is right now if it wasn't for the change of scenery. Because we know the history of the Cleveland Browns. They are quarterback purgatory. It's the place where quarterbacks go to die. And we can say that because of what's happening with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was considered at the time a top 5 quarterback. And now, even with the scandal and stuff, maybe with the scandal, if he would have stayed with the Texans, he could have still been good. Who knows? There's a big gray area there. It's something that we will never know. So we don't know if it's just because of the Cleveland Browns or if it was just because of the controversy stuff. But I really do think that Cleveland is a place where quarterbacks go to perish. And it is good to see that Baker Mayfield has been able to literally flip his career around. Just the demeanor that Baker Mayfield has brung, the attitude change that he has. He had all these commercials and stuff when he was in college. Now it seems like he's focused on football, even though he's still got some commercials. It's a whole different vibe with Baker Mayfield. The guys are playing for him, and he's just playing exceptionally well. He can arguably be right now MVP candidate going into 2 weeks of the NFL season. So that's Baker. Something that is also related to Baker as well is the O-line. In order for, and I think this is one of the weak spots for the Buccaneers right now, is their offensive line. A lot of this may have to do with how good the Texans defense actually was and the way the Texans D-line is built with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter on the edge. They have a lot of good interior edge rushers as well. That defensive line is top tier, top 5, 10 in the league, you can say. But the O-line was a problem. Baker Mayfield was getting pressured a lot towards the end of the first half and pretty much all of the second half. And that's the reason why I had to give Baker a lot of credit for being able to pick up that big 4th and 10, because Baker Mayfield, the lanes were closing really fast and the Houston Texans were everywhere around Baker Mayfield. I mean, even the Texans were shocked on that 4th and 10 that Baker Mayfield even got out of there like he did. I still don't even know how Baker Mayfield got out of there, and he slipped out of the pocket, but he was able to. But yeah, I don't like the offensive line, specifically at the tackle spots. I think it's Graham Barton. I thought he was supposed to be playing center. At one point, they had him at left tackle. So that's something that's going to derail the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if they cannot get their pass protection going. I think the run blocking is pretty good, but they got to work on their pass protection. And outside of the offensive line, I think they arguably have one of the best wide receiver trios. Could be once they get there when Chris Godwin gets healthy. Emeka Egbuka, he's already making a statement early. He's got 3 touchdowns through the first 2 weeks of his for rookie season. We know how Mike Evans is, future Hall of Famer. And then we're going to have Chris Godwin come back off an injury. That is a loaded wide receiver talented room. So the offense is pretty much a Super Bowl caliber offense. Now, what about the defensive side of the ball? They got to stay healthy. Can't see the defensive end that they drafted 3 years ago. He was out. He came out of that game with a pec injury. Got the news as of yesterday that it was a season-ending injury, so they are going to be without him. Antonio Winfield's still there. Levante David. I got some other key pieces. Vita Vea on the defensive line as well. So they have a pretty good roster. They draft very well. I think on defense, they're missing just that fire player, that highlight player, kind of like the Micah Parsons for the Packers, Fred Warner for the San Francisco 49ers. They're missing that like it star player. Levante David is a little bit past his prime. Levante David, you could argue, was that player a couple of years ago. Antonio Winfield, he's a good player. I don't think he's like that type of good stature player to where he's, like a all-pro type player. He's pretty good. I think Antonio Winfield's made an all-pro, but I think they're just missing a piece. I love the Bucs' team. I love their offense. They could upgrade the offensive line a little bit in the future after this season, but the defense for me is just missing. They're missing something. But ultimately, given the way that they're constructed right now, I think they can contend in the NFC. You're going to have to go up against the Eagles. You're going to have to go up against the Packers, even the Lions. If they stay healthy, given their roster, I think they can give the Eagles a run for their money. The Packers, I'm kind of high on the Packers right now. I don't want to be a prisoner of the moment, but the Packers on defense specifically looks really good, and that defense is humming. And if the way the offensive line played last night for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if they have to go up against that Packers defensive front, good luck, because it is not going to be pretty. What happened tonight with the Texans will be on steroids against the Packers, so that's something that the Buccaneers need to shore up. But I think the Bucs are right there. The Falcons look good in their own division, so it's not like, they're still going to have to be competitive within their division. It's going to be a 2-team race. So the Bucs, led with Baker Mayfield, have legit Super Bowl aspirations. They can do it. Now let's move on to the bigger picture here. What about the Houston Texans? Obviously, I'm an Ohio State guy. Marvin Harrison Jr., he's a guy that has not panned out so far in the league. Hopefully, he can continue to get better in his sophomore year. Emeka Egbuka, we just talked about him, Ohio State guy. He's already off to a hot start. Hotter start than Marvin Harrison Jr. I love CJ Stroud. His rookie season, I was not shocked. I'm from North Carolina. I'm not a Panthers fan, but I root for the Carolina Panthers, and I wanted the Carolina Panthers to draft CJ Stroud. I thought highly of CJ Stroud. I thought he was the best quarterback in that draft. I thought he was better than Bryce Young. So far, that has seemed to be the case, that CJ Stroud has been better than Bryce Young. But CJ Stroud has got to play better. Since his rookie campaign, first things first, and I know I steal a lot of this stuff from these shows, but they just got great graphics and they got a great team that helps them out with this stuff. They pretty much cut CJ Stroud's career in half. I think they said CJ Stroud in his first half was like 11-6, 11-7, something like that. And the latter half, in the second half, CJ Stroud's 9-8. He does not have a very good touchdown interception ratio. CJ Stroud has just not been good. And that was the same case Monday night against the Buccaneers. He was missing throws, uncomfortable in the pocket. They got rid of Laramie Tunsil in the offseason, so their offensive line did not look good against that pass rush. And they just were not able to do anything on offense. Even at the end of the game when they blocked the punt and they got the ball on the Tampa Bay's side of the field, they got the ball at Tampa Bay's 30-yard line. They didn't even get a first down. I don't know if this has to do with Bobby Slowick. I thought Bobby Slowick, he was part of CJ Stroud's rookie year, and the reason why the offense was as good as it was. Last year, they wasn't as good as they were, and they got rid of them this year, and it seems like the offense is pretty much picking up where they left off last year. But even with that, CJ Stroud was inaccurate. There was a lot of balls where he short hopping balls to the tight ends. And that is something that I was really huge on with CJ Stroud, was CJ Stroud's accuracy. But so far, he has been extremely inaccurate. I still believe in CJ Stroud. I think he is capable of winning an AFC championship one day, because we saw in his rookie year, in his rookie campaign, he beat the Cleveland Browns, led by Joe Flacco. And in the divisional round, he had to go up against a gauntlet of a Baltimore Ravens team who were the favorites to win the Super Bowl that year. They were deep on both sides of the ball, and they ended up losing to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. But that was a tough task for a rookie quarterback, and that was a tough draw for the Houston Texans in their first year. DeMeco Ryans' first year as the head coach, first year for CJ Stroud as a quarterback in the NFL. And they were able to make some noise. Last year, they had a down year. Stephon Diggs got hurt early. Nick Chubb was not there. Joe Mixon, he was on and off the field. So they had a down year. And then this year, you expected them to at least be decent. Joe Mixon is on IR to start the season, but he'll be back. Tank Dell will be back. Somebody they lost last year as well. And they are 0-2 to start the season. I didn't get to watch them against the LA Rams in week 1, but I had a full, clear eye view on them on Monday night. And it wasn't good. The Texans need to win this division. They got to take advantage of how weak the division is. Because the last couple of years, they were obviously superior. But this year, we see what the Colts are doing. Granted, I think this is just fool's gold right now so far from the Indianapolis Colts. I think they're going to come down to earth. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they've dropped one. Obviously, we don't think that the Tennessee Titans are going to do anything, but Cam Ward, he looks pretty good so far. He's playing some pretty good football. The sky's the limit for them in the future. So CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans have to take advantage of the situation they're currently in. 0-2, they still have a shot to win the division. Because their bright spot is so far and right now is their defense. That defense was absolutely phenomenal. As we were talking about with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were everywhere. Everywhere. They were flying across the ball. Derek Stingley, CJ Gardner-Johnson in the back end, great linebacker play. Don't even get you started about the defensive line led by Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. They were just wreaking havoc on the offensive line and the Buccaneers offense. If that's anything, that is what's going to keep them in games. In order to win the division, CJ Stroud has to just play good football. He doesn't even have to be great. He just has to play good. Because CJ Stroud, with the stats he's given, 13 for 24, that is not good enough. That is not good enough. That's like roughly 54% completion percentage passing-wise in the 50s. It's not good enough. 1 touchdown, not good enough. 8.6 yards per throw, not good enough. He had a QBR of 19, not good enough. So if the Texans want to even compete in this division, which given their offense and the way their offense looks right now on the offensive line, I don't see the Texans competing in the AFC this year. I don't. I can honestly say right now through 2 weeks, I think the Chiefs can be better. Obviously, I say the Chargers is better, the Ravens and the Bills. So the Texans, if they have any hopes of making noise, they got a lot of making up to do. Now, I wouldn't hit the panic button. It's early, but it is right now time for the Houston Texans to win some games. I don't want to think. I don't want to call the sophomore slump on CJ Stroud because this is going to his 3rd year. He had a great, phenomenal rookie campaign, arguably one of the best rookie seasons of all time. Then you go into your sophomore year. He wasn't great. He wasn't bad. He was pretty decent. He was just okay, man. This year, we got to get back into the conversation. If they ask you, how good was CJ Stroud this year? Say, pretty good. Pretty good. We can't say meh again. We got to get better. So that is pretty much all I have to say about that game there. I want to know all of your comments down below. Do you think Baker Mayfield has revitalized his career? Do you think the Texans and CJ Stroud have what it takes to make some noise in the AFC this year and win their division? I want to know all of your comments down below. Moving on to our very next game, a game that I'm very interested in talking about. This is the game that I wasn't able to watch the second half, latter half of the game. So I'm pretty much basing my comments on just the first half of the game. And we're going to talk about the Raiders. And then that's going to lead into our big topic of today. Geno Smith was bad. It was the funniest thing. I was sitting doing homework while I was watching this game, and my dad was like, he made this comment right before the game. They just kicked the ball off. Geno Smith and the guys were going on the field, and my dad had made a comment talking about some, Jay, this is going to be, West Virginia, West Virginia Geno is going to be here tonight. I was like, all right. First play, Geno Smith throws a pick. And I was like, I hope this is not a sign of things to come. He turned into New York Jets Geno Monday night against the Chargers. He wrote back. He was bad. Granted, let's give him a little bit of grace. The Los Angeles Chargers, led by Jim Harbaugh, arguably has a top 3 defense in the NFL. Because I saw the window that Geno Smith was trying to throw the ball into when he threw that pick. And that safety just jumped on that ball so quick. I was very shocked and astonished to see how quick he got at that football. So I really cannot blame Geno Smith for throwing that ball in that situation. But Geno Smith was just bad. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Didn't read the field well at all. Everything looked like everything was too fast for him. Couldn't process things fast enough, which led to him throwing interceptions. Had a lot of boneheaded throws. Like the second interception that he threw, rolling out, he just threw a Hail Mary 50 yards down the sideline. Jacoby Myers or whoever that was double covered. And Tony Jefferson ends up picking the ball off at the 1 yard line. It's Geno Smith, granted, I know that defense is tough, but there was a lot of boneheaded just interceptions and throws that Geno Smith was making all night. So he was bad. And just to talk about the Chargers in general, the Raiders in general, I think they are missing a lot of firepower at the wide receiver position. They got this guy, Tucker. He's okay. Jacoby Myers, I've never been a huge fan of Jacoby Myers. Especially going on before the season, there was this news about him trying to, make these contract negotiations. He requested a trade. Nothing ever came of that. But, he's not a player that he don't knock my socks off at the wide receiver position. He would be like a good wide receiver 3 for anybody. But I don't think Jacoby Myers is just this world breaker. They got this young guy that they drafted in like the 3rd, 5th round, something like that. They think that he's going to be pretty good. But they're just lacking wide receiver talent. Deontay Thornton is his name, that 5th round pick. Trey Tucker, Jacoby Myers. They're okay at the receiver position. Now, Brock Bowers, they have an absolute stud at the tight end position. But if the Raiders in the future just want to be able to compete in this division, they're going to have to get some wide receiver help for Geno Smith. You're going to have to. You got your running back. You got Ashton Jeanty. Granted, Ashton Jeanty, he's got some things that he needs to clean up on, especially with pass protection. But the Raiders, I see why a lot of people kind of fell in love with the Raiders this year. They finally got the quarterback right. They have a defense that is actually pretty good. And they are able to compete. You got Max Crosby. I like the way the defensive backs were playing for the most part, which is something that the Raiders, has not been their strong suit for the longest time, is the secondary position. But they were flying around the ball. They were physical. You could tell that Pete Carroll has he's put his fingerprints on that organization so far. And the Raiders are being pretty competent to start off. It's just offensively, if they want to be successful, Geno Smith cannot go 24 for 43. You just cannot do it. You can't throw the ball 24 times and only have 180 yards. You can't throw 3 interceptions. You can't turn the ball over. I mean, Ashton Jeanty, he was able to average almost 4 yards carrying. That's doable. But they just got to get more explosive on offense. I think their defense is actually serviceable. They held the Los Angeles Chargers to 20 points. With that offense and the way the Chargers has been looking, the potential that they can bring, that's pretty good. I think the defense is going to be good. They just got to get some offense for years in coming up in next season. I say next season because I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I didn't want to buy into the Raiders after that performance against the New England Patriots because it was the New England Patriots. And the Chargers are a good team. Now, if we look at the Raiders' schedule, they play at Washington. I don't know if Jayden Daniels is going to play or not. If Jayden Daniels does play, I don't see them winning that game. I think they can beat Chicago. Indianapolis will be a close one. They'll beat Tennessee. They won't beat Kansas City. I mean, it's not the worst schedule of all time now. They got, just their in-division games is an absolute gauntlet itself. They've already dropped a game. So that is just something that you got to account for. Then they got to play the Texans. They got to play Dallas. They got to play Indianapolis. I mean, their schedule is it's not the worst. It's a doable schedule, but in a division with all those great teams, I don't know. I don't have them making the playoffs this year, but they have a bright future. They have the quarterback, and I think if they can draft a wide receiver in the upcoming draft, shore up the O-line a little bit, they could be pretty good for years to come. Now let's move on to the LA Chargers. That defense of theirs is absolutely phenomenal. They're just great. They're great. It is astonishing to me. They fly around. They're physical. It is crazy to me how under, I forgot the guy's name, but their old head coach before Jim Harbaugh got there. And I can't think of the guy's name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. It is crazy to me how the defense, and this was a defensive-minded head coach. And now that I'm thinking about it, let me see. Come on, what's his name? Brandon Staley, yes. Under Brandon Staley, a defensive-minded head coach, they were one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They were bad. And on top of that, they were situationally so bad. And watching the way this defense has been playing under Jim Harbaugh, last year they were one of the best defenses. And this year, you can argue they are the best defense in the NFL, alongside like the Green Bay Packers or somebody. It is just mind-blowing how coaching can make this much of a difference on a football team. Jim Harbaugh, he's one of my favorite coaches ever. I just love Jim Harbaugh. He's old school. He's a player's coach. There's just so much to like about Jim Harbaugh. And he has literally turned around the Chargers. He's under Brandon Staley. Justin Herbert was this guy, throw the ball 50 times a game, 45 times a game, try and give me a win. Now he's turned Justin Herbert into this guy, just manage the game. You ain't got to throw the ball 40 times. You can throw it 27 times, be super efficient. We can come up with a win. We play good defense. Don't turn the ball over. And we win games. Justin Herbert was 19 for 27, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. I don't know why, but a lot of people have Justin Herbert in the MVP conversation so far. They think he's been the best quarterback so far in the NFL. Another angle is this as well. Quinton Johnson, a guy who was drafted in the 2023 draft class. They thought he was going to be a bust. He couldn't catch the football. He had stones for hands and bricks for hands. But he has had a great start to the season so far. Even last year, he wasn't the best. Jim Harbaugh voiced his love for Johnson, saying we believe in him, this, and that. And he has gone out this year and he's playing phenomenal. And I don't want to bring fantasy in anything, but in fantasy football, I think he's ranked the top 10 wide receiver so far. He's had massive production for this offense. They have a complementary wide receiver room. You have a guy in Quentin Johnson who can pretty much stretch the field for you. Big target. He's like 6'6", 6'7". Then you have your slot guy in Ladd McConkey, who is an absolute stud. Great route running. He's a route technician. He can get up open whenever he wants to. And then you have a guy like Keenan Allen, who is a red zone target. The guy has pretty much been fresh off the couch. He was fresh off the couch going into training camp. I don't even think he was signed the first week of training camp. And he literally got so much production for this offense through 2 weeks in the NFL season. It is absolutely astonishing the way the culture and everything that is set within the Chargers organization. It just blows my mind. The only bad thing about the Chargers right now, and it's something that I would not expect to see with a Jim Harbaugh-led program, they got to be able to run the ball better. Granted, the Raiders have a pretty good defensive line, but Najee Harris, eight carries for 28 yards, 3.5 yards per carry. That's got to be better. Your draft pick that you drafted in the first round, 8 carries, 24 yards. Marion Hampton, he has a lot of promise. He's going to be pretty good. He only had 8 carries for 24 yards. Got to be better. There's no reason why you have 2 first-round picks at that position. Najee Harris is no slouch. He was not able to flourish in Pittsburgh because they did not have a good offensive line. Now he goes over to the Chargers. He doesn't have to be your number 1 back anymore. You just drafted this workhorse in Marion Hampton, considered the best running back in the draft, even with Ashton Jeanty being in that same draft class. And they just have not been able to successfully run the football. Now in short yardage situations, they've been able to run the ball, but it's just they're not running the ball as efficiently that I think they should. And they're still been able to claw out some wins with that. But it's something I want to see them be able to work on, because when it comes playoff time, we don't want to have Justin Herbert in a situation where he threw more picks in that playoff game than he did all season, because that's what happened last year in the playoffs. And I want to see Justin Herbert's play from these past 2 regular seasons and even this regular season. I want to see that translate into the playoffs. That's the thing with Justin Herbert. We know he's talented. We know he's good enough. If you look at his stats alongside Peyton Manning in this same time frame, he has the same and somewhat better stats than the Hall of Fame great Peyton Manning. This is how good Justin Herbert is. But Justin Herbert has to go show. He has to put substance in his play. He's got to go translate this to the postseason. And I think Jim Harbaugh is the right coach for that. I don't think Brandon Staley was, because even Brandon Staley choked that first playoff game for Justin Herbert. There's no reason that the Chargers should have choked that game. If they would have just ran the ball instead of wanting to get pass happy, they would have won the game. But that didn't seem to be the case. So if the Chargers want to be successful, the defense is phenomenal. They're great. And I think that will translate into going into the postseason. I think they're going to play just as well. But got to be able to run the ball better. Passing attack, great. Got to run the ball better. And Justin Herbert's got to be able to translate his play. So that's the Chargers. I think the Chargers are good. 2-0. I have them winning that division. And I had them winning that division. I know I didn't say it on my podcast, on the show, but I had the Chargers winning this division. And my prediction is ending up being true as we speak. So that is pretty much just recapping Monday night's action in the NFL. That's just my 2 cents on it. I want to know all your comments down below. What do you think of the Raiders? What do you think of the Chargers? Do you think, everybody is overhyping the Chargers? Do you think they are as advertised? I want to know all of your comments down below. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. If you're still tuned in, this is the focal point of today's show. And we're going to pretty much stick with the Raider game because it happened during this game. The Monday night broadcast, Dan Orlowski and the crew, they were in the booth. And Peter Schrager was the sideline reporter. And we know that Tom Brady is the minority owner for the New England Patriots. Not the New England Patriots, excuse me. He is the minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. And just to give a little history, if I'm not mistaken, and I couldn't quite get the source right, but I think last year, or was it the year before, Tom Brady was denied ownership stake because of, him being with Fox. I think it was last year. Some stuff going on with Fox and things of that nature. So they finally accepted his, they finally finalized, and the league and the owners got together and they were able to, what's the term I'm looking for? Accept Tom Brady's request to be a minority owner and, accept his stake into the NFL. So there are some, there are some stipulations with that. He's a minority owner, and he is Fox's top broadcaster for the big games of the week, America's games of the week. So during the Monday Night Football game, Tom Brady was seen in the booth with a headset on. And everybody got in there all hoorah about it because Peter Schrager pretty much reported that Tom Brady consults with Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll multiple times a week to go over the game plan and film, per Peter Schrager during the broadcast. Now, this came under a lot of fire the next day. The NFL had to come out with a quote about it. Even Pete Carroll in his post-game interview, he downplayed everything about the whole Pete Carroll and, Tom Brady having a stake, being in the game plan and the situations and things of that nature. And I'm going to read an article here. And it's by ESPN. NFL says Tom Brady didn't violate rules in Raiders booth. Tom Brady did not violate any NFL rules by wearing a headset in the Las Vegas Raiders coaching booth during Monday Night Football. The NFL said Tuesday in a statement that Brady, a minority owner with the Raiders and a broadcaster for Fox, is prohibited from going to a team facility for practices or production meetings, but the former quarterback is allowed to sit in the coach's booth. This is from, quote, by Brian McCarthy for the NFL. There are no policies that prohibit an owner from sitting in the coach's booth or wearing a headset during a game. Brady was sitting in the booth in his capacity as a limited partner. All personnel sitting in the booth must abide by policies that prohibit the use of electronic devices other than league-issued equipment such as Microsoft Surface tablets for the sideline viewing system. Telecast showed Brady in the Raiders booth wearing a headset during the first quarter. Coach Pete Carroll said Tuesday that Brady is not planning games with us, and that's what I was saying. In the whole thing with the stuff going on about the report that Peter Schrager made, which Peter Schrager is a credible reporter, and he said that Chip Kelly, and this is per Chip Kelly and them, and Pete Carroll, they get together with Tom Brady about the game plan, and somebody, there's something fishy going on. He's not talking to, and this is still Pete Carroll, he's not talking to us about anything other than our conversations we have that are really random. They are not set up. They're not structured in any way. He knows. He's been very respectful of what he does otherwise. He's of the opinion that he doesn't want to be that kind of factor, so he's not. After his 23-year playing career, Brady made his Fox debut last season on a massive contract, but limitations were put on Brady because of his agreement becoming a partial owner of the Raider, a deal that was approved by the coaches. So I think that Tom Brady is still able to communicate with the coaches and the players in some way, form, or fashion, because I have another article to back this up. But let's finish this. The NFL recently relaxed some of his restrictions for Brady in that role, including allowing him to take part in The NFL recently relaxed some of its restrictions for Brady in that role, including allowing him to take part in production meetings. When a broadcast crew meets with that game's head coaches and key players this season, he must take part in those meetings remotely and he isn't allowed to attend practices and team facilities. So he is still able to talk to coaches. Tom continues to be prohibited from going to team facilities for practices or production meetings. He may attend production meetings remotely, but may not attend in person at the team facility or hotel. He may also conduct an interview off-site with a player like he did last year a couple of times, including for the Super Bowl. Of course, as with any production meeting with broadcast teams, it's up to the club, coach, or players to determine what they say in those sessions. All right. So that is pretty much just a gist. So after reading this article, we got a pretty much clear picture. So Tom Brady is actually able to talk to players and coaches remotely in these meetings. He just cannot be on site. So I pretty much got to just throw away all of my notes that I wrote up for this show, because this is totally different from what was going on. And now I got an article here from Ben Johnson, because, you know, Ben Johnson, the Cowboys and the Bears are part of the broadcast crew for Tom Brady. They got America's Game of the Week. And Ben Johnson had this to say about the Tom Brady situation. Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson says, meeting with Tom Brady and the Fox Sports production team will be business as usual. I've been careful in everything I've said since the season started. Johnson said when asked about Brady calling the game at the 6 o'clock mark of the Wednesday press conference, it's been a pure coach speak mode. To me, it's just business as usual. I'm just fine. I like Tom and we have a very good relationship. The Bears coach was then asked about how he would deal with the conflict of interest presented by Brady, who is a minority owner of the Raiders, preparing both to call a game and help the Raiders game plan for a future opponent. I'm really not worried about it. We change to week in terms of what we do. Schematically, he's going to be able to turn on the tape and see what everyone else in the world is seeing right now. Personnel-wise, really the same thing. It's not like I'm going to sit down with him. Hey, don't do this with Caleb. There's not going to be any trade secrets that are going to be exchanged. I really don't think it's that big of a deal, to be honest with you. So that is what Ben Johnson had to say. Now, let's give my 2 cents on this now that we have the clearer picture. And I wrote this down first off. Tom Brady is not stupid. He's not stupid. I know that Tom Brady was aware of the rules. It's Monday Night Football. It's a nationally televised game. If Tom Brady knew that he wasn't supposed to be in that booth with that headset on, he works for Fox, for Christ's sakes. He works for a TV company. He would have knew if it was against the rules to be there during that game with that equipment on. And I know this is another situation, people, you know, Tom Brady, he's been under a lot of fire for multiple scandals with the whole Deflategate thing. He's been accused of cheating multiple times with all types of stuff. Because it's Tom Brady, okay? Tom Brady's this, people has tried to find a way to discredit Tom Brady for the longest time. And this situation here with the Raiders is another situation of that. I can say this was not a great look for the league. And even have to come out with this article to clarify all this stuff. I don't know if ESPN knew what the repercussions of showing that would be. I doubt this is the first time at all that Tom Brady has been seen in the booth like this. I imagine he's been there multiple times. It just wasn't a great look for the league. It puts in question, and this was the title of the show. It questions the NFL's integrity. A guy in Tom Brady, who is a minority owner for the team, who gets to go to rival teams, he can talk to any team that has a game that day. He's talked to the Chiefs before. He's talked to the Broncos. He's talked to the Chargers. So pretty much Tom Brady has been able to get information that could possibly benefit the Raiders. Now, and I even wrote here, is he part of Zoom meetings still? I don't know. So granted, we just found that out. He is able to take part in Zoom meetings. So he's not able to take part of practices. He's not able to sit and see the practices like his partner, Kurt Burkhardt, can. Tom Brady is not able to see that. So ultimately, given all this information, I do not think that Tom Brady gives the Raiders a competitive advantage. I don't. I don't see the problem with it. Tom Brady is not able to see with his own eyes the plays that is being run at practice to be able to relay this type of information to the Raiders. I don't. In Zoom meetings, when he's meeting with these players and coaches, it is pretty much up to the coach's discretion if they say something that would deem pretty valuable for Tom Brady to take as a competitive advantage against that team. So, in my perspective, it's fair game. I think if the coach is dumb enough and stupid enough to do something as dumb as give away personal information like that, that is his fault. The coaches know this. The coaches are aware of this. I'm sure the front office for the head coaches, they all come together and like, hey, when you talk to Tom Brady, don't tell him anything important. And Ben Johnson was pretty much saying that. I'm not going to tell. It's not that big of a deal. This is one of the things in the media that everybody's just, trying to stir up some controversy about Tom Brady and just, stir up, overplay and overblow a situation that shouldn't be overblown like it is. This is just classic media stuff, I can say that I'm a part of the media, but I'm not going to sit here and overblow this. I don't have a problem with Tom Brady being in the booth. I don't. If he's got the headset on, I don't know. What I would like to know is, I'm sure, and I can pretty much infer as a competitor that Tom Brady is, I imagine that he's had some type of conversation about how to make the team better to Pete Carroll. Tom Brady has had his fingerprints on this team. I think he was the one that pretty much okayed the Geno Smith trade. So Tom Brady is part of the reason why the Raiders are built the way they are and how they are considered, a pretty good team. But I don't think that teams are giving away super, super valuable information that is going to cause the Las Vegas Raiders to have a competitive advantage over opponents. Because I would be indifferent about that if he was able to attend these production meetings on site. Because that is a big deal. You get one-on-one with the players. You get to see the practice. You get to see the plays. And with him being in the booth, he only has access to the stuff that he's available to him. He can't take no videos off his phone. He's only able to use the tablet, like they said, the Microsoft tablet. So I don't have no big problem with this. I don't. At the time, it wasn't a great look for the league because of all the tweets. You had a lot of people like the Tom Pelisseros and others. They were pretty much like, and I thought I saved the tweet, but I didn't, obviously. But I think it might have been deleted. Anyways, he said it here. Warren Sharp said, the NFL deleted a tweet that they sent saying Tom Brady works closely with Chip Kelly to put game plans together. So there's been a whole lot of things going on. You had that, and James Palmer, he come out with this tweet talking about, so Tom Brady is in the booth and part of these games and part of the game plan with the Raiders, and yet he gets to meet with these teams on a weekly basis for Fox. He was like, got it. So it wasn't a good look for the NFL to begin with. They should have, I feel like the NFL should have clarified exactly the type of access that Tom Brady has when he originally got the okay from the NFL to take part of the ownership responsibility while he was still with Fox. There should have been just a big article like they released today about it to bring more clarification, because I thought, because I was even confused. I'm like, okay, if you're saying that he cannot take part in production meetings, why is he still able to talk to players and coaches? So he's able to do that via Zoom. So he's not able to see some important behind-the-scenes stuff with plays and things of that nature. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I may be in the wrong. That's just my personal opinion. And the only fishy thing I can say about this whole situation is the Chip Kelly, Pete Carroll thing. Somebody's lying about that, okay? There's no way Peter Schrager, he is a credible reporter, and he sourced Chip Kelly for this information. He said that Chip Kelly meets with Tom Brady multiple times a week, game planning and stuff. That's got to be true. That's got to be true. Now, I know this is the tricky thing in the NFL integrity part of this aspect of it. People might run away with that and be like, oh, Tom Brady's game planning with them because he has inside information about all the teams because he meets them with their production meetings with Fox. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. Because I don't think coaches are dumb enough to give away important information to Tom Brady in these production meetings. I just don't. I don't think these coaches are that dumb. If they are, that is their problem. That's their fault. And they only have themselves to be mad about. So I saw my man Mad Dog. He was pretty mad about all this. He was like, Tom Brady shouldn't be a part of the production meetings. I don't have a problem with it. And in the end, it's a very odd situation. I'm just glad we got clarification about it, but that's just my 2 cents on it. So I'm on Tom Brady's side with this, and that's it. I want to know all of your comments down below on that. Let me know what you guys thought. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached almost the end of the show. So now, as I previously stated, we are going to get to my picks of the week. Week 3 in the NFL season. And I'm going to be giving my picks for this week's action in the NFL. Got a good slate of games. We have hot picks. I didn't get to go back and see, my picks and, talk with you guys about it on Monday. But I'm going to keep tabs of it this week. And I'm going to go back and give a little quick outview of it on Monday. And I'm going to see how well we did. But let's go ahead and get it fired and get it underway. The Miami Dolphins goes up against the Buffalo Bills. What's the line here? The Buffalo Bills are favored minus 11.5. I'm smashing the Buffalo Bills to win this game. I'm taking the minus 11.5. There's no shot. The Dolphins have no shot in this game. The Dolphins have looked absolutely awful under Tua Tagovailoa. They look pretty much pedestrian. They don't look like an NFL team. Tua looks lost. He looks like he's forgot how to play football. And, yeah. That is just a quick one for me. Moving on to the Dallas Cowboys versus the Bears. The Chicago Bears are favored minus 1.5. Give me the Dallas Cowboys. That defense for the Bears is absolutely awful. Jalen Johnson is out for the rest of the year at the cornerback position, so CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens is going to have just barbecue chicken. That DB room is going to be absolute barbecue chicken. The only way that this game stays close is if the Bears offensively is able to take advantage of a putrid Dallas Cowboys offense, but I think the Dallas Cowboys offense is better than the Bears, and I think the offense of the Dallas Cowboys is better than the Bears offense. So I think it's going to be probably like a touchdown to a field goal game. I got the Cowboys winning by like 10. So that's my pick. Dallas. Packers versus Browns. The Packers are favored minus 7.5. I'm definitely taking the Packers here. The Packers are going to go 3-0. The Packers are just good all around right now. You got Micah Parsons. You got the offense. The Browns, they just don't do nothing good. The defense is okay. They let Lamar Jackson do whatever they want to do to them. Put up 40 points. Joe Flacco just not look good offensively for the Browns, so they're going to go 1-3. That's an easy one for me. Colts versus Titans. Indianapolis is favored minus 4.5. Give me the minus 4.5 for the Colts. The Colts has been rocking. They've been good. The Titans, even though this is a home game for them, I don't think the Titans are that good. Cam Ward, he's been a pretty much bright spot for the team, but they have a long way to go. I know you guys probably saw that crazy play that he made last week where he threw the ball on the other side of the field and caught it. Let that be a one-time thing, Cam Ward. So yeah, I'm definitely picking the Colts minus 4.5. This game right here, though, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very interesting. The Bengals and the Vikings. So the Bengals are obviously without Joe Burrow, and the Vikings are going to be without J.J. McCarthy now, given being without J.J. McCarthy, is that going to be that big of a deal the way he played last, Sunday night? Who knows? But the Vikings are at home. Minnesota's getting the minus 2.5. I got to be honest. I don't know how good Carson Wentz is going to be. I'm going to take the Bengals. Give me the Bengals plus 2.5. The Vikings has a good defense, and if they win, it will be because of their defense. I do not trust the offense led under Carson Wentz whatsoever in any way, form, or fashion. So I'm going to take the Bengals plus 2.5. Jake Browning, I think he done pretty good. Came in and won the game. You still got that offensive firepower. I'm going to take the Bengals plus 2.5. Steelers and Patriots. This is an interesting game. The Pittsburgh Steelers are favored minus 1.5. I'm going to take that. Look, the Steelers, they have to get better on defense. There's no excuse for the Steelers to be as horrible as they have been on the defensive side of the ball. J.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Jalen Ramsey, they got to play better. They have not played well. Offensively, Aaron Rodgers got to throw the ball better. The offense as a whole has to be better. I'm not huge on the Patriots. Look, they played a Miami Dolphins team. Okay, that you didn't look good against the Raiders. You're not going to get a cookie from me from beating the Miami Dolphins, because the Miami Dolphins are literally, I think they're in the conversations and fighting for the number 1 overall pick. So give me the Steelers. Rams and Eagles. This is a good game for me, and I'm going to shock a whole lot of people with this. I'm picking Los Angeles plus 3.5. And I think this is probably going to be a field goal or touchdown game. That 3.5 is huge, because if it was like Philly minus 2.5, I probably would have picked Philly. But I just think this is going to be a 3-7 score game. And I ultimately think the Rams could win this game, and they should win this game. I have not been happy with what I have seen from the Eagles offensively, and I think just the Rams are better on both sides of the ball right now as we speak. And the Rams should have beat them last year in the playoffs. So I'm picking the Rams this game easily for me. And has nothing to do with hate. I don't like the Eagles. That's not a hate pick. That's just logic. Okay? Remember that. Jets and Bucs. This is easy for me. Tampa Bay minus 6.5 at home. I'm going to go ahead and lay that down on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Jets, I don't know. I don't know if this is the Jets team that showed up week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, or it was the Jets team that showed up last week. I think they're going to be without Justin Fields, so I have no faith in their offense whatsoever. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is, so I'm picking the Buccaneers. That is an easy one for me. Raiders Commanders. This is an interesting one. I don't know if Jayden Daniels is playing or not. If Jayden Daniels plays, I would pick Washington. I think as of right now, I think Jayden Daniels is on track to play. So if Jayden Daniels plays, and I'm gonna pick Washington minus 3.5. But if Jayden Daniels don't play, I think the Raiders are going to win this game. This sucks because I wish Jayden Daniels was playing. If I was a betting man, I would stay away from this game, but I'm just make my picks. I'm going to pick Washington. Falcons, Panthers. Give me the Falcons minus 5.5. There's no Panthers are horrible. They about came back last week, but I just think the Falcons are better in every single fashion. Texans, Jaguars. Now, this is a very interesting game. Jaguars are favored minus 1.5. Give me the Texans. I think the Texans have a great defense. I've been pretty much not happy with what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence. I just think Trevor Lawrence is never going to live up to the hype. I'm pretty much selling my Trevor Lawrence stock, even with Liam Cohen, offensive-minded head coach. And I just think C.J. Stroud and the Texans are due. They're 0-2. They're going to go in there wanting to win, so give me the Texans. A good game as well. The Chargers and the Broncos. This is a great game. LA minus 2.5. I'm going to go ahead and take that. They're giving LA to 2.5. I have the Chargers winning by like 3. I think this is going to be a close game. I think they're just a better team overall. I've not been happy with what I've seen from the Broncos defensively. And I think the Chargers are going to prevail. They're going to play better defense. Saints, Seahawks. This is easy. Give me Seattle. The Saints are not good. Seattle, way superior. I don't even have to keep this one longer. Cardinals, 49ers. Niners minus 2.5. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I don't know if that performance by Mac Jones was an anomaly. I just think Kyler and them, they got to beat them. You got to beat the San Francisco 49ers. They're depleted. They don't have Brandon Ayuk. They don't have George Kittle. They don't have Brock Purdy. You have your full onslaught on both sides of the ball. Kyler Murray, there's no excuse. I don't care if you're on the road. You got to beat San Francisco. So I have the Cardinals winning this game. Give me the Cardinals plus 2.5. Chiefs, Giants, this is easy for me. Chiefs are going to win this game. Give me the Chiefs minus 6.5. The Chiefs are due. They need to win, and the Giants are the team that they're going to get the win against. The Giants are not going to be able to do anything offensively. They're not facing a putrid defense like they were in Dallas. And this is the game where offensively, the Chiefs can get their mojo back. Granted, they're playing a good defensive line, but I think this is a tune-up game for Mahomes, get the offense together, bad secondary, and the Giants are going to lose that one. The Chiefs are going to run away with it. And lastly, Lions, Ravens. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens minus 4.5. I'm not high on the Lions this year, as a whole lot of other people are. I'm not 100% sold. Even in the game they played just this past week against the Bears, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I just think defensively they're not going to be able to keep up with the Baltimore Ravens offense at all. And when Jared Goff has a clean pocket, he can slice and dice you up. I expect the Baltimore Ravens to get pressure with their defensive line against the Lions offense. Granted, Penei Sewell and everybody's still in the offensive line, but the interior is depleted. That is where Matabuke and everybody on the interior D line can get a pass rush on Jared Goff. And they are playing in Baltimore. So that is another factor I'm taking into the equation as well. So I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens in that game. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Those are my picks, and we're going to go back and revisit those next Monday's show. That is it. You've reached the end of today's podcast. It was a good one. It was I'm not used to going live back-to-back days like this. It has took a toll. It took a lot to pretty much plan this show. I got it together really fast, so excuse me if I feel like it. I was kind of everywhere to start off today's show, just because I'm not used to filming shows back-to-back days. So, although I think it went pretty well. Let me know what you guys thought. Let me know what you thought down below, and anything in that nature. Thank you guys so much for watching today's episode. I will see you guys again hopefully on Friday. If not, I will see you guys on Saturday. But I should see you guys on Friday to talk about the Thursday night football action and anything else that comes up in the news. I love you guys so much. Do not hesitate to drop a like on the podcast. Check my podcast out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Check out my videos below when it pertains to sports. And check out all my other podcasts as well if you missed any of the other ones from this yesterday and the weeks before. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, love, and positivity always, y'all. See you.